I have dragons. I'll give you one.
Welcome back to Heroes and Whiskey. We are printing our way through the D&D Monster Manual, and today we are printing monster number 73, the Ancient Silver Dragon. We do still have a white dragon coming up, but that one may be a little out of sequence, and it will make sense when we do that episode. But we've been looking at dragons now for over 2 months, going back to the Dracolich, and it has just been an insane amount of planning and printing. Before the Dracolich, we were at 10.5 days of printing, and after the silver, we are up over 35 days. And I was looking back, and I set up the Dracolich files almost 10 months ago. So it really has been a season of dragons, and it will be really strange, actually, to start printing normal-sized figures again. I remember when the Ankh seemed big. So this silver dragon is, not surprisingly, yet another impressive work of art from Lord of the Print. They actually have it as a gray dragon, and it either comes separately or in a 2-pack battle with the black dragon that we printed, and that is an absolutely insane piece. So you can see this silver has the prominent head crest, which has defined silver dragons for decades in D&D. Now, I've changed my tone a bit with these metallics. I gave Lord of the Print a hard time early on for making the metallics a bit too stoic, and maybe, honestly, this choice for a silver dragon goes too far in the opposite direction. Silvers aren't typically overly aggressive unless they're fighting evil, and this is among the most aggressive styling that we've seen from a dragon. And that's why I picked it. We just haven't seen yet the stereotypical wings out, ready to breathe fire pose from a dragon. So if you need an attacking dragon of any color, I think this model would work great. So as I said, the silvers are lawful good and typically not aggressors against anyone unless they're committing evil, so they're more likely to befriend you as a human companion than show themselves in dragon form. So I could definitely see an adventure where the party has to befriend one of two characters in a tavern, and it's actually a setup for a battle between a silver dragon and something evil like a vampire or a witch. So in terms of printing, this is really a masterclass in design. So let's look at a couple of different pieces. The base is glued together because of the pose. There's just really no way to separate the dragon from the base, but every bit of this looks fantastic, and this is really the way that it needs to be done. So the base, as I have with the other dragons, the base was printed FDM. But it's actually, whatever they did, the angles are such that you can barely see the layer lines. They are there. You can see them. They're really not that obvious, and so they just did a really good job. I don't know how you figure that out, but they did a great job making it such that the lines aren't that obvious. And then the wings were also printed FDM, and so there is some kind of support crap up here along the tops of the wings, but when it comes to the wings themselves, you can see they have a very obvious texture to them. And again, you can see some layer lines throughout, but they're not that obvious because the texture is more dominant than the layer lines. And so it's just really fantastically done because it allows you to print it out in a more convenient medium, and it's just a great use of the kind of technology and the process for printing everything. And then in terms of the pieces that were printed on my resin printer, the face looks fantastic. These are all really, really sharp. Up along in here, the teeth are really sharp. Claws, everything. Again, like all of the other dragons, there's I'm sorry, the wings are a little too big for my desk space here. But just all of the scaling all along the stomach, and it's small too, and so I know how difficult it is to do that just over and over and over across a piece. So just really kudos to Lord of the Print for how they put this together. And the seams are also fairly seamless. There is a bit of a larger one here around the neck, but it's really not that bad because the two pieces fit well together. In terms of the wings, you can see that you kind of get the usual, it's kind of okay, kind of a little chunky. Some of it may be how I glued it together. This other wing is the same. Again, not anything too dramatic. I mean, overall, despite the combination of the two different kinds of printing, this really came out great. I think the only, complaint, if I could have one, is that the way that it glues together, sorry, I keep bumping into wires and stuff with these wings, as you can see, I mean, the whole thing is basically held up by a section of tail. And this only fits into this space in one particular way. You have to line up the scales on the tail with the space allotted for it exactly right to get it to stick. And so that was a little bit difficult to get that exactly right. But once I did, it's one of those poses that I really love because it basically seems like it's defying gravity. This foot, I don't know if you can tell, is actually off the ground. And so the only thing that's connecting it to this base is about a 1-inch stretch of tail tucked in here, and it just came out fantastic. In terms of size, not surprisingly, it is yet another massive dragon. The wings aren't quite as large as the green, but it's still about 125-foot wingspan in D&D scale, and the fact that it's oriented more vertically just causes it to take up a ton of space. In terms of resources, it's $20 on its own, $40 if you buy the set with the Black Dragon. The wings and the base push the print time up close to 3 total days, so we are sitting at $730 and over 35 days of print time. So if you need an aggressive dragon for battle, check out this gray/silver dragon from Lord of the Print. If you want a longer project, definitely check out the gray-black battle diorama from Lord of the Print, which is just totally awesome. And one last note, if you're watching these episodes in real time, we're coming up on holiday season, and my mini factory usually has just a huge 50% off sale. And so if you're looking to get some of these larger pieces or bundles, you can definitely save yourself a ton of money. Next up, we have the ship-chomping dragon turtle.